Hi everyone, welcome to Podcasting Club. Sorry I'm not here today. I wanted to welcome everybody and let you know a little bit about what to expect in Podcasting Club. We are going to be listening to podcasts and then also creating our own podcast shows with up to 5 episodes. So hopefully at the recent learning showcases, perhaps you have explored some of the students' podcasts who were in my previous learning clubs. And so maybe you have some ideas already. I also know we have several people here who were maybe in quarter 2 or quarter 3 podcast club and are back again. So I'm really excited to have everybody here and for us to create some awesome podcasts. Today you're going to do mostly listening. So you're going to want to go on your iPad and you're going to want to look for the purple Apple Podcast app. It usually comes on most iPads. If it's not there, it's just free. Again, it's purple and it's just the Apple Podcast app. There is a picture of it on your paper that you're going to receive today so that you know what the icon looks like. So you're going to be going into Apple Podcasts and then you're going to type in the name of the podcast that I've asked you to listen to today. I ask you to listen to 4 specific episodes. Okay, I'm going to have you listen to an episode from Wow in the World, one from Story Pirates, and then 2 additional podcasts as well. So you'll search for the title of the show, the podcast show, and then you'll have to search through the episode list to find the specific episode that I'm talking about. Some of the episodes are going to be about 30 minutes long. You don't have to listen to the entire 30 minutes, but I'd like you to listen to at least 10 minutes of the podcast so you can get an idea about the structure of the show, the content, and things like that. As you listen to these 4 different episodes, you're going to complete a listening to podcast handout. The handout looks something like this, and it's going to ask you to write down the title of the podcast, the topic the podcast covers. Is it a science type of podcast? Is it a history podcast? Is it about Harry Potter? What is the topic of the podcast? And then the name or the number of the episode. You're going to try and figure out what type of podcast it is. Is it a one-on-one interview? Is it a conversation, a group of people who are just talking together? Is it solo commentary, meaning one person talking and they're just talking about a certain topic? Is it going to be a nonfiction narrative, or is it going to be a fiction narrative? Is it fictional storytelling? So somebody, like a bedtime story, almost like they're reading aloud to you, but you're just listening. It could be educational. It could be a debate. There are a lot of different types of podcasts, so try and figure out if you can notice the difference in those. The next element that you're going to look for on your handout is going to ask you to notice different techniques. Do you hear any sound effects? Is there any sort of organization to the episode? Does one person talk and then they transition to the next? Are there sounds that come in between there? Is there any sort of catchphrase or any sort of lead-in or intro that you hear unique to each podcast? So any sort of techniques that make that particular podcast unique. And then the last box says, would you tune in again? So is it a podcast series that you like? Would you want to come back and listen to the other episodes? Or maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's not your style. So you're going to listen to 4 of those and fill out your paper. And then after that, you'll have the freedom to browse some other podcasts, maybe some other topics that are of more interest to you. I have a QR code provided where you will see a menu of other podcasts that you can listen to. So you'll just want to look through the menu, find the title of a podcast, then go into Apple Podcasts and search for it. I have a long list of a variety of types of podcasts for you to listen to. If you are already listening to a different podcast that you know you're really interested in, and it's appropriate for school, feel free to listen to that as well. Or just browse the other ones so you can get an idea for what's out there and maybe get some ideas for your own podcast. Towards the end of class, the sub will ask for you to add up to our anchor chart. It says, what are you listening to? I'll show it to you now. Doo-doo. There it is. The what are you listening to? Okay, you're going to use the markers and you're going to add up there your name and then the title of the podcast you're listening to. If there's a particular episode you like, you can write down the episode name as well. And then last but not least, I want you to come next week. Well, not next week because you'll be on spring break, but the week after that, I'd like you to come and have an idea for what you might want to do to create your own podcast. You can work in partners or small groups, or you can go solo. But come next week with some ideas for what you think you want to do to create your own podcast. Okay? If you have headphones, you'll want to use them if they're in your locker. Ask the sub, you can go and get them. Use headphones if you can. If you can't use headphones, then try and spread out and listen in a quiet place. There's a lot of us in the club this time. I think we have a full group, like 27, 28 or something like that, which is awesome. Really glad to have so many people interested, but it's going to be a little bit more challenging for us to find quiet space. So have a good time, make good choices, and I will see you the week after spring break. Happy listening.